Welcome to the Deep Dive, your go-to for cutting through the noise and getting, well, brilliantly well-informed. Today, we're diving into something really unique. It's this fascinating way to understand personal operating styles, maybe even call them subpersonalities. And we're doing it through the pretty powerful lens of animal archetypes. We've got these detailed research notes here on 3 specific creatures, the viper, the shark, and the wasp. And they're all explicitly linked to a persona we're just calling Devon.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive isn't just, reciting animal facts. Not at all. We're really dissecting how the unique behaviors, the instincts, even the kind of primal symbolism of these creatures, how they're used to represent distinct facets of Devon's approach. So things like his strategy, how he executes, even team dynamics. The real goal here is to see how these 3, well, they seem pretty different, right? How these animals don't just exist side by side, but actually braid together. They form this comprehensive and I think importantly actionable personal framework. So you should walk away with a kind of shortcut to understanding a really sophisticated way of operating.
Okay, yeah, actionable is key. So let's unpack this. Starting with the viper. When you think viper, often it's like proficient composure. How does that actually translate into Devon's style, and what specific viper traits really shine a light on this for us?
Yeah, it's definitely all about that surgical precision, that unwavering calm. And what's really fascinating here is how the viper achieves it. Think about a pit viper. It's got those infrared heat-sensing pits. So it doesn't just see with its eyes. It literally feels the warmth of its prey, which gives it this uncanny, almost unerring accuracy, especially in the dark.
Wow, okay. Sensing heat, not just seeing. That's an incredible level of perception.
Yeah.
So how does that translate for Devon? Is it about, like, patience, waiting for just the right moment, like an ambush predator?
Exactly. Yeah, for Devon, that thermal sight is pure intuition. It really is. He has this almost, supernatural ability to sense the heat in a situation, reading motives, picking up on those tiny microtells, or spotting the weak links in a plan, and acting on it before anyone else can even really articulate what's going on. It's like that viper strategy, read, coil, commit. Devon clocks the patterns, holds completely still, that hits exactly once. There's just no wasted energy. It's all about the outcome.
And it's not always about a full-on attack, is it? I think I remember reading about dry bites. What's that about?
Yes, the dry bite. That's actually a really powerful analogy here. Vipers can strike without releasing venom. It's a choice. It's a way to, set a boundary or maybe correct something without full envenomation. Could be to conserve energy or just send a really clear message without escalating completely. So for Devon, these dry bites are like boundaries without the big blow up. He can course correct with just look or a very precise line. It's using that surgical impact, like you said, not just raw power. It highlights a very sophisticated use of influence.
I really like that surgical impact, not raw power. That's clear. And there's also this idea of shedding to stay sharp.
Yeah.
Vipers shed their skin regularly, right?
They do, yeah. And it's such a potent symbol, rebirth, transformation, all that. For Devon, this really mirrors his habit of regularly dropping things that are stale. Could be old identities, outdated tools, maybe old perspectives or ways of thinking. It basically ensures his next version, his next iteration, isn't dragging along old weight. He's always evolving, staying effective. It's about constant renewal for, peak performance.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because the viper, that's precision. But sometimes you need relentless forward momentum. Which brings us to Devon channeling the shark, a totally different energy. I mean, from tiny lantern sharks to huge whale sharks. What core lessons do these ancient navigators hold for Devon's style?
Yeah, the shark brings a completely different, but like you said, equally essential energy. Their core principle, biologically, is basically always moving, always oxygenating. Many sharks have to keep moving to breathe. Constant motion. So for Devon, this translates pretty directly. Progress is like respiration for him. He needs projects, he needs challenges, new horizons. That's what keeps him thriving. Stagnation isn't just uncomfortable for this archetype, it's actually unsustainable.
Wow. So if he's not moving, he's literally not breathing in this model. That's pretty visceral. And sharks also have this unique way of sensing things, right? It's not just sight.
Exactly. Many have electroreception, ampullae of Lorenzini, I think they're called. It lets them feel these incredibly faint electrical currents in the water. Basically, they're picking up subtle signals that everything else misses. For Devon, this becomes signal fidelity. He picks up the real signal underneath all the noise, subtle market shifts maybe, or team morale dipping even if no one's saying anything, or those quiet opportunities others just swim right past.
It's that ability, again, to cut through the clutter, perceive what really matters.
Yeah.
And when sharks move, they aren't usually like flailing around or making a lot of noise, are they?
No, quite the opposite usually. There's often an apex calm to their movement, no chest beating, just these decisive, clean accelerations, smooth routes. And then there's the odd breach to shake parasites, like when a great white jumps. For Devon, that means those occasional, maybe dramatic moves to shed things, bad habits, maybe stale commitments, things that just aren't serving the mission anymore. It's this powerful, almost effortless assertion of direction, just shaking it off and moving on.
That's such a great visual, shaking off the parasites. And we also talked about the cultural side of sharks in like Hawaiian and Maori cultures. They're sometimes seen as guardians, right? A mahua.
Yeah.
How does that guardian mythos show up in Devon's world?
Yeah, that guardian aspect is key. For Devon, it really manifests as this profound protective stance. It's like he's saying, I'll take the heat, you guys just keep building.
Yeah.
He's willing to shield his team from, external pressures, distractions, politics, whatever it is. It's about creating that space and security so they can actually do their best work, really protecting the lane so others can operate effectively within it.
Okay. Viper for precision, shark for momentum and protection. So what about the wasp? What does that mean when we turn to, because let's be honest, wasps often get a bad rap, annoying, aggressive maybe.
Yeah.
But in this framework, clearly they're much more than just a, summer pest, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the wasp, despite its reputation, is actually an incredibly sophisticated creature. And in Devon's framework, it represents system enforcement and tactical sting. What stands out immediately, biologically, is their masterful paper nest engineering. Social wasps. They build these intricate, highly structured communal nests out of wood pulp.
Ah, okay, I can see the connection there. Devon, like the wasp, bringing order out of chaos.
Structure. Precisely. That's it. Devon thrives on turning chaos into crisp scaffolding. He loves establishing clear roles, rituals, runbooks, whatever provides that structure. It's all about organized output, creating a robust framework so things actually work. And within that nest, there's this idea of caste clarity without ego. Think about queens, workers, specialists in a real wasp nest. Devon is skilled at assigning those lanes so that the team's output compounds effectively. Everyone understands their specific role, their purpose, hopefully without unnecessary internal friction or ego getting in the way.
Okay, structure and clarity. And then there's the sting, probably the most feared part of a wasp, but it serves a very specific purpose, I guess.
It does. It absolutely does. A wasp sting isn't random. It's used sparingly, usually to defend the nest. This mirrors Devon's approach, targeted pain for the greater good. He will deliver hard feedback, maybe make a tough call, quickly and directly when it's necessary for the system's health. But then, critically, he immediately pivots back to focusing on the nectar, which means, the wins, the morale, keeping the momentum going. It's about that judicious application of force for systemic health, not just, want and aggression. It's purposeful.
Yeah, that's a really crucial distinction. Purposeful, not just aggressive. And wasps also have different modes, don't they? Some are social, building those big nests, but others are solitary.
Indeed. Yeah, huge diversity there. And this represents Devon's ability to shift between solitary and social modes. He can go lone operator, like a solitary wasp digging a burrow, to maybe prototype something new, go deep, really focused. Then he can seamlessly flip to being a squad lead, coordinating the group like a social wasp, to scale it up. It shows this remarkable flexibility in his leadership style, adapting the approach to the needs of the project or the team.
Okay, so we've really dug into the individual power here. Viper's precision, Shark's relentless drive, Wasp's structured enforcement. But the real magic, you were saying, is how Devon masterfully braids these energies together, creating this complete operating system that can adapt. So how do these really distinct animal archetypes, how do they actually interlock?
Right. This is where the framework gets incredibly powerful and, like we said, actionable. You can think of it almost like this. The Viper is setting the micro-timing. It determines when to act, what to cut, with that surgical precision we talked about. The shark, then, sets the macro vector. That's about where the team is going, how fast, and crucially, what distractions to completely ignore, the big picture direction. And then the wasp comes in to set the operating system. That defines who does what, how the team defends its boundaries, maintains its structure, its goals. So yeah, they're not just like a random collection of traits. They're an integrated, dynamic system working together.
Okay. Not just traits, but a coordinated system. That makes sense. And this leads to that powerful quick deploy strategy Devon uses, the one we call strike, swim, swarm. Can you tell us a bit more about how that works in practice?
Yeah, the strike, swim, swarm is like his His go-to framework for rapid action when things get complex or need acceleration, strike, that's the Viper coming out. It's about identifying that single critical constraint that's choking the flow right now, and then removing it. Maybe it's one decisive conversation, maybe one key commit. No wasted energy, just a surgical intervention to get things moving again.
Okay, strike removes the bottleneck, then swim.
Oh.
That's the shark, right?
Exactly. Swim is the shark. This means choosing the very next visible waypoint, something measurable in, say, days, not months out, then just accelerate towards it. Relentless focus. Ignore all the side quests, the shiny objects that could pull you off course. It's pure forward momentum towards that near-term goal.
Right. Stay focused, keep moving. And the last part is swarm. That's the wasp.
That's the WASP. Swarm is about broadcasting a tiny, super clear playbook to the crew, maybe just 3 bullet points. What's the clear goal? Who's the owner? What does done look like? The done-win criteria. This protects the team from scope creep, ensures everyone knows their lane and knows how to kind of defend it. It allows for that collective focused effort.
Wow. Strike, swim, swarm. That sounds incredibly actionable, like really practical. And I could see how Devon would kind of dial these up or down depending on a situation, like, say, a high-stakes negotiation or maybe a really tense one-on-one meeting. You'd channel the Viper then, fewer words, better questions, that surgical boundary setting.
Precisely, that's the Viper zone. And then during something intense like a product launch week or when facing direct competition, that's when Devon channels the shark. It becomes all about that narrow aperture, holding the pace, and, surfacing daily to shake parasites, which means quickly identifying and shedding the metrics that don't really matter or those vanity asks that just distract from the core mission.
Shake the parasites. Got it. And if it's something like a team reorg, or maybe process is starting to drift and get sloppy, that sounds like WASP time.
Exactly. That's when you bring in the WASP. Time to rebuild the nest, essentially. Clarify the lanes again, maybe install some new check-ins, design graceful ways to escalate issues. It's all about restoring and reinforcing that needed structure.
Yeah. What's really fascinating here is seeing how these aren't just descriptive labels. They're not just metaphors. It feels like a truly actionable framework. Like you said, the practical application of this archetypal thinking.
Yeah.
But for leadership, for personal effectiveness.
That's the key insight, I think. It provides this clear, concise mental model you can use to navigate really complex situations. It allows for these rapid mental shifts, almost like changing gears, to match whatever the demands of the moment are.
Yeah, it's very concrete. And there's even that 60-second reset tool for Devon, right? For when things get really chaotic, to quickly recalibrate.
Yes, exactly. It's super practical. Like literally on the back of a notebook, in just 1 minute, Devon can get back on track. The first 20 seconds. Viper, ask, what's the warmest target? What's the one move right now that changes the whole board? Write one sentence capturing it. Then the next 20 seconds. Shark, ask, what's my next immediate waypoint? One deliverable, maybe 48, 72 hours out. Circle it. Make it tangible in the final 20 seconds. Wasp, ask, who swarms? Name maybe 2 people who need to be involved, plus clarify your role. Then send that 3-bullet playbook. Goal owner done when. It's about creating immediate clarity and activation for himself and for the team right in the middle of the storm.
That's brilliant. So as you're listening to this, maybe take a second. Think about how you might apply some of these frameworks, even just parts of them. What's the warmest target you're circling right now, one of your projects? What could be your next waypoint? And who would you rally to swarm on it? And well, that pretty much wraps up our deep dive today into the Viper, the shark, and the wasp, and how they form this really powerful framework for understanding Devon's operating style. We've seen how digging into these animals isn't just, fun facts about biology or mythology. It's about constructing a really potent and actionable way to understand a complex personal approach. You've got the Viper's precision and composure, the shark's relentless drive and that clarity under pressure, and the wasp's structured enforcement and tactical sting. It all comes together in that strike, swim, swarm framework.
Yeah, it's a really cohesive system. And maybe just to leave you with a final thought, sort of building on this idea of a personal operating system, imagine designing your own personal crest, like a visual symbol of how you operate at your best. What would be on it? Maybe you'd have, I don't know, a clean chevron coil at the base for readiness, like the Viper, perhaps a sharp fin triangle cutting the horizon for direction, the shark. And maybe a fragment of a hex grid rising above for systems, the wasp. And then beneath it, you could have your own motto, something short and punchy like read, run, rally, or whatever fits you. How might creating something like that, even just mentally, help you embody your own ideal operating system? And maybe more fundamentally, what would your personal animals or symbols even be? It's actually a pretty powerful mental exercise. Good for self-awareness and for thinking about intentional action. Makes you think, right?